Hello everyone, and this is Comodin Cam. Today I'm going to be rounding off the deaths in the Transformers live action movies that shouldn't have happened. Because, well, I think it's quite clear I've got nothing better to do. These characters aren't really in a certain order. I just sort of put them in the ones I was more sort of sad about the most. Basically the ones that did have enough screen time, but their deaths didn't feel justifiable. They just happened and it just felt pointless. Anyway, without further ado, let's just dive straight into it. First up on the list is Canopy, because, well, what else needs to be said? He only appeared for about 5 minutes, and we thought in the trailers this guy was actually going to have more of an impact. You know, he'd help out with Isabella Mona's character. We didn't know it'd only be for 5 minutes, or even less. Some people even suggest he kind of looked like Hot Rod a little bit, so he could probably change into that, you know. And it just felt pointless as well, because when he dies, there's no impact to his death at all. Mainstream audiences will be just looking at, oh, he's cute, you know, how he is in a few shots, but that's about it. No real personality or anything. What are you gonna do? Next we have Mirage, and well, I'm not really going to be talking about the death of him, more like the death of the contract. Car over the years went through a lot of difficult contract negotiations on what they can and can't do with the car. You know, the cars are licensed throughout the film, and well, that's why Mirage was actually named Dino in the film, because well, they didn't want that name attached to that. They wanted something a little bit different and everything like that. So whether or not what really happened to Mirage, though he is, I would say, dead, just mainly because of the whole Cemetery Wind thing. I think Ratchet represents all the past characters' deaths. Some people go backwards and forwards on this guy, but it's actually the contract license that killed him in the end. But he is a fan favourite by how he was in the film. He came across as a very cool character within the few moments we had of him. You do get to play him in the Dark of the Moon games without adding more to the sort of excitement to the character. It's a shame that the behind the scenes stuff is what actually killed him in the end. Next up we've got Jolt. Now I've actually done a separate TF Files episode about him on what happened to him in the end. And well, if you don't know, within the comics, which I kind of consider canon for this sake, he was killed by Shockwave. And much like Canopy really, I wanted to see more of this guy. And it's just a shame we didn't get that in the film. His only purpose was to link Optimus Prime and Jetfire together for the final battle. And although we do see him fighting a little bit in the desert, it's not merely enough to really spot him out. He is easily one of the most forgettable Transformers in the entire film series. And it's unfortunate because I felt like this character really had a lot more to offer. Next up we've got Q, also known as Wheeljack. Now as I stated in my All Deaths video, this felt like watching your grandfather die because it was really brutal and saddening. And I just felt like this guy had a lot more to show because obviously it's the character of Wheeljack. They did name him Q, but that was just a reference to James Bond. In the credits he is called Wheeljack and Q, so Q was probably just a nickname. Wheeljack is a great character and has a lot to offer, and although we did see him give some inventions to like Sam Witwicky and everything like that, this guy just had a lot more to offer. I mean, this is a central character to the Transformers lore. He's one of the first Autobots to ever appear in television. So you would have thought for the movies, Q or Wheeljack or whatever, they would have given him a little bit more impact towards the story and not just have him give other characters stuff for the plot and actually do something himself.
What a story, bae.
Next up we've got the Arcee Twins, and may I say more, these girls, they had so much potential to them. I mean, these are Arcee, Chromia, Elita 1, essential 3 female characters within the Transformers lore. Heck, let alone throw away the whole Elita 1 story arc with Optimus Prime. And they were thrown out just because Michael Bay didn't like them. Approved by Michael Bay and explosions.
Genius.
And actually it does sadden me that characters like these 3 didn't get enough material as they deserved. And yet their deaths are just thrown aside because they just didn't want them to be in future films. Which is why I cry out for a reboot in the near future, that we get these characters again and they are explored, they are brand new, and we actually have something to do within these films. Next up we have Sideswipe. Now before you go having a go in the comments, the Age of Extinction Topps Europe collector cards said he was hunted down and killed by Cemetery Wind after the Battle of Chicago. Optimus Prime and the United Autobots later learned of his death via the KSI drone and mourned him. It's not true, he's not dead, it's bullshit, it's not true, it is not. Oh hi Bay.
Genius. Hi, I'm Michael Bay.
The death of Sideswipe has been argued about across the entire fandom. Some people don't believe in the Europe collector cards even though they were stated official. And if he was really going to come back, we would have at least seen him in Transformers 5. And yes, people are going to say, oh, he's going to come back in the next film. Well, there's no actual confirmation of that, and I really do doubt that. But what we got from him in the films, he was just a badass in every scene he sort of owned really. The fight scene he had with Ironhide against the Dreads, several shots for the desert fight, and well obviously his opening scene where he just owns Sideways. Out of all the character designs for the movies, this one, yes, it's drastically different from his G1 counterpart, but by God, it is awesome. Next up we have Ratchet.
The boy's pheromone levels suggest he wants to mate with the female.
Ratchet was one of my favourite character designs from the first film. It was something new and different, but I kind of embraced this. This is actually pretty cool. Now, he's had more of a role in the Transformers films than other characters he's actually done and said a lot. You know, he's been obviously the aide to Optimus Prime and everything, which is why he was chosen to be the sort of represented death of the rest of the characters in Transformers 4, because someone like Ratchet, who, much like Q as well, is sort of that elderly grandfather type figure, but yet he's still wise and he's sort of a grunt as well. Seeing him perish was just very unsatisfying, and well, although the scene is actually kind of well shot and it was, you know, the scene he deserved, you know, he actually got a lot of screen time within that, despite it leading up to his death, it just still kind of felt unnecessary. Of course, the whole reboot changes, you know, preceded this to happen, but the last we see of Ratchet is his face being melted, which is very dark and gruesome, which I'm not against, but just for the context of it being Ratchet and the stuff we know of him throughout the films, it felt a little bit too sad for, like, not so much of his death really, but so much of, oh, that's it, he's not coming back. I really wanted more of Ratchet. Next up, we have Ironhide. You're tearing me apart, Michael!
Why are you so hysterical?
Much like Ratchet, he was there from the very beginning. We got to know his character traits very well. We followed him throughout 3 films. He was one of the fan favourites. And well, what happens? Of course, there has to be that twist, and Ironhide has to die. Yes, one of the toughest Autobots on the team has to perish because reasons. I mean, it does make sense why Sentinel would kill Ironhide just because he knows how tough he is. His death was very impactful to the terms of fans actually outraging and just mad still to this day that he has not been brought back or resurrected in any way. And there's no chance of it because he died by cosmic rust. So there's no way his spark or anything like that is really retrievable. Unless that the writing really does become more ridiculous. Because with these Transformers films, a lot of fans have their own personal favourite, and they've grown attached to them, you know, within 3 films, within the years, the toys and everything like that, they just love them. And then when you see a death like that, which is under those circumstances, it makes you kind of go, oh, that's just, my excitement is gone. That's what the death of Ironhide was. And number 1, quite frankly, should be the obvious one, Jazz. Why? Because he's one of the coolest, one of the best Transformers we've ever got, and he was only reduced to 5 at least minutes of screen time and was instantly ripped apart by Megatron.
Because this is good entertainment.
To say this guy is the second command, it was sort of brave to see him go against Megatron to obviously distract him from the rest of the city, but under the circumstances of him just being ripped apart, like, really? You had to kill him? Like, couldn't you have just badly damaged him? I mean, just imagine how it would have come out in future films. That's why we still get toys of this character to this day, because it was very unrewarding, and I think Michael Bay to this day knows that was a giant mistake, as well as the writers, that yeah, this guy fitted in with the roster of the Autobots so well. Maybe he would have been chosen for the impactful death in Transformers 4 instead of Ratchet. And my mum goes absolutely crazy when she sees a hint of Jazz appearing. She thought Lockdown was Jazz, and she clapped like a seal, and then when she found out it was the villain, she was very disappointed. In all fairness, Jazz could have been very much the comic relief, much like Flash is to the DC films, and Spider-Man is to the MCU. But we can only dream in the future for a reboot, and he finally gets the screen time he deserves.
So there we have it, guys, the deaths in the Transformers live action movies that shouldn't have happened. Do put in the comment section below which Autobot death you think shouldn't have happened, either one I've mentioned or haven't mentioned, or you've got your own list with your own reasons. And yes, I can see the comments already, I will be planning a video for all the Decepticon deaths that shouldn't have happened as well, so stay tuned for that. If you're new to this channel, be sure to subscribe because I've got videos just like this already on my channel for you to check out. And as I've said, more videos planned just like this in the near future. Hope you've enjoyed, this has been Comodin, and until the next video, goodbye.